March 2018. Somewhere in a dim warehouse in Sydney, a drug trafficker types a message on his phone. Shipment confirmed, 500 kilos, Port of Rotterdam, Tuesday. He hits send, confident his words are encrypted, invisible to everyone except the man receiving them. What he doesn't know is that 15,000 kilometers away, in a windowless room in San Diego, an FBI agent is reading that exact message, word for word, in real time. And he's been reading every single message this man has ever sent. To understand how the FBI pulled off the greatest sting in law enforcement history, we need to go back to 2017, Vancouver, Canada. A company called Phantom Secure was making millions, selling modified BlackBerry phones to criminals worldwide. Their phones had everything stripped out. No GPS, no camera, no calls, just one app for encrypted messages. And if police ever seized your phone, one text message to the company, and they'd remotely wipe everything. Poof, evidence gone. Their biggest clients? The Sinaloa Cartel, the same organization that made El Chapo one of the most powerful drug lords in history. March 7, 2018, Bellingham, Washington. Vincent Ramos, the CEO of Phantom Secure, sits down for dinner at a restaurant just south of the Canadian border. FBI agents have been watching him for months. They know his clients include Mexican cartels, Australian biker gangs, and European mafia. As Ramos takes his first bite, federal agents surround him. He's arrested on charges of running a criminal enterprise. But here's what nobody knew. The FBI didn't just want to arrest Ramos. They wanted something far more valuable. They wanted a backdoor into his network. And when Ramos refused, the FBI found someone else who wouldn't. With Phantom Secure gone, criminals around the world were desperate. They needed a new secure phone, and someone was ready to provide one. The FBI had a secret asset, a former criminal developer who went by the code name Afgu. He'd been building his own encrypted phone system called Anam, but instead of going to market, he made a deal with the FBI. He would give them complete access to every message sent on the platform. In exchange, he received a reduced sentence on pending charges and $180,000 in payments. The FBI wasn't just monitoring criminals anymore. They were about to become the criminals' phone company. The Anam phone was brilliant in its deception. It looked like a regular smartphone. It had Tinder, Candy Crush, Instagram. But none of those apps actually worked. They were decoys. The real app was hidden inside the calculator. Enter a secret code, and suddenly you weren't doing math. You were inside an encrypted messenger that promised complete anonymity. What users didn't know, every single message they sent was being copied and forwarded to a secret FBI server. A ghost contact, invisible to everyone, was added to every conversation. It was like having an FBI agent looking over your shoulder, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. But there was a problem. How do you convince the world's most paranoid criminals to trust a new phone? The FBI couldn't exactly run advertisements, so they found another solution: criminal influencers. One man would become essential to the operation, and he had no idea he was working for the FBI. His name was Hakan Ayik, a Turkish-Australian drug trafficker living in exile in Istanbul. Muscular, covered in tattoos, he flaunted his wealth on social media. Australian authorities called him the Facebook gangster. He controlled a cartel worth $1.5 billion annually, and undercover officers gave him an Anam phone, telling him it was the most secure device on the planet. Ayik loved it. He started recommending it to everyone he knew. Because of Ayik's endorsement, Anam spread like wildfire. The phones couldn't be bought in stores. You needed an invitation from someone already using the platform. That exclusivity made criminals trust it even more. Within 3 years, over 12,000 Anam devices were active across 100 countries: Italian mafia, Albanian crime syndicates, Asian triads, outlaw motorcycle gangs. all of them typing their darkest secrets into phones controlled by the FBI. They planned cocaine shipments in tuna cans, methamphetamine hidden inside pineapples. They even used diplomatic pouches to smuggle drugs across borders. And every single message, 27 million of them, was being read by law enforcement in real time. The messages weren't just about drugs. They revealed something far more sinister: murder plots. Australian police intercepted plans to attack a suburban cafe with a machine gun. They found messages coordinating the assassination of a family of 5. In total, authorities prevented 21 murders from being carried out. The criminals had no idea. They continued typing, planning, scheming, completely unaware that every threat they made was being documented, cataloged, and would eventually be used against them. The FBI called it Operation Trojan Shield. Australia called it Operation Ironside. But for the criminals who used ANOM, it would be called The End. June 7, 2021, 4 a.m. Australia. Hundreds of police officers across 16 countries received the same order: go. In Australia alone, 4,000 officers execute 500 search warrants simultaneously. In Germany, tactical teams smash through doors at dawn. In New Zealand, the Comancheros motorcycle gang wakes up to armed police. In Sweden, Finland, the Netherlands, Spain. Everywhere ANOM phones had touched, law enforcement was waiting. The results were staggering: 800 arrests, 32 tons of drugs seized, 250 firearms confiscated, over $148 million in cash and cryptocurrency. And it wasn't over. The seizures included 8 tons of cocaine, 2 tons of methamphetamine, and the dismantling of over 50 clandestine drug labs, including one of the largest in German history. And what about Hakan Ayik, the man who convinced criminals to trust ANOM? Australian Police Commissioner Reece Kershaw had a message for him. He's essentially set up his own colleagues. Given the threat he now faces, he's best off handing himself in as soon as possible. The criminals Ayik had vouched for, the men he convinced to use ANOM, now knew the truth. He had unknowingly made them targets. Every message, every drug deal, every murder plot, all traced back to the phone he recommended. Ayik remains a fugitive in Turkey, and according to police, he's now the most hunted man in the criminal underworld. Not by law enforcement, but by the very people he betrayed. Operation Trojan Shield changed everything. The FBI proved that in an age of encryption and digital anonymity, law enforcement could still find a way in. They didn't need to crack the code. They became the code. But it raises a question that haunts the digital age. If the FBI could run a criminal phone company for 3 years without anyone knowing, what else might they be running right now? 27 million messages, 800 arrests, billions of dollars in drugs stopped, and one message that every criminal in the world received loud and clear: your secrets are never truly safe. The next app you trust might already be watching.